Human beings are dynamic. So you have to allow yourself to grow and change as the seasons dictate or demand. So I'm a counseling psychologist by education, and I'm a lover of the outdoors. And I have climbed very many mountains and led expeditions within Kenya, the region, the continent, and the world, to Machu Picchu, to the Swiss Alps, Ruwenzori, Kilimanjaro. So I've done a lot of that. And the reason that I rebranded to being a wilderness psychologist is because with the interactions that I have with my clients, I have had intentional conversations with them which have impacted their lives. And they keep saying that one of the main reasons that they do hike with us or even just sign up for the interactions is because of that niche that I bring as a wilderness first responder. That is my psychology. So I'm a wilderness first responder and I'm a wilderness psychologist. That is who I am. Great.
I almost asked what is a wilderness first responder, but because our mission today is to figure out how do we have meaningful relationships, because I've seen people meeting online, getting married, 6 months later, they are not sustaining. I've seen the same people meet 2 months later, they are married and they are working it out. I've also seen the millennials who do not want relationships. I've seen people in the workplaces having superficial relationships. How can we cultivate healthy relationships, whether in the workplaces or at home?
Okay, Grace, because you started off by saying you wish you had time, I will take you back there and tell you what a first responder is. You know, we have first responders in very many different areas of life, like the people who are in ambulances, the police, all those are first responders. So a wilderness first responder is that I am the first point of response when we are out in the wild. So apart from climbing mountains, I do actually offer those walks at Karura Forest and places which are easier for those who are not into intense physical activity. So that is what a wilderness first responder is. So to come to your question, and you've seen people getting into relationships, and not all of them have got the longevity that they are supposed to have. I'll take you to the very beginning, and people need to understand one thing about human beings. Human beings are made to be in relationships. That is how we are created. We are created to be in relationships. Doesn't matter what you believe in terms of your spirituality, but we are created to be in relationships. And let me just break this down to the simplest form. If a child is born now and the mother departs and leaves that child and there's nobody else around, that child will not continue to live for beyond a couple of hours. But even to the very basic, a child being brought forth into life needs the mother and the father. So we are hardwired in our DNA to have relational interactions with people and to have meaningful relationships. So the thing that has changed for many of us is that the COVID pandemic changed how we interact with one another. We were not very intentional before in terms of how we related with each other. It was more of accidental. We relate with colleagues accidentally, and because we spend lots of time with them, we just gravitated towards getting our partners there. So we're not intentional about how we initially select the people that we hang out with. You'd find yourself also possibly grouping towards people who have got similar interests to you. You didn't really think about it, but because we've got young children, so let's hang out together. That is how the relationships were crystallized. And then the pandemic happened. And we had to really, really think about the people that we were choosing to let into our space at that time, because it was a matter of life or death with who we were interacting with. Of course, now after a period of time, there's that element of, we've gotten the vaccines and, there's a bit more liberation, but our relationships have taken a very big hit because of that. And without intentionally thinking and deciding how we are going to interact with people, then you find that relationships will tend to suffer a lot. So because the relationships are hardwired into our DNA, whether you are single, whether you are married, whether you will need people to interact with. So the first thing that happened was that we went into isolation. And because initially we're not intentional with how we interacted with each other, whether it was family members or even the people in our home, the children are there, but we're not intentional about how we're reacting, but we've been forced now to spend lots and lots of time with them. We found that relationships took a hit. There are those that took a hit, and there are those that thrived because you had to be present. There was no distraction. There was no work taking you away. Children are not going off to school. You are confined to the space that you lived in. So then you started paying attention and interacting with these people with all your senses, using your ears, using your eyes, using your sense of smell. And some people are like, who are these people who are living in this house? I know we possibly share the same DNA for the children, and this is the partner that I got married to, but I have not really been intentional in how I've interacted with this person. So therefore, those people who then had the scales falling off their eyes and seeing their partners for the first time because of the extended amount of time they were spending together, either started clashing, or for others, they started appreciating each other. They started appreciating their children, they started appreciating their spouses. And because we also had to be very, very careful about who we were interacting with, we were not allowing ourselves to just move wishy-washy and exposing ourselves to risk. We chose the people who mattered to us most. We were choosing the friends that, we have similar shared values, that sitting with you or sharing a drink with you would add value to my life. So that is one of the key things that made our relationships change during the COVID pandemic. One, it made us stop and be a bit more intentional with the people that we interact with the people that we allow into our space. So that's the first thing that happens. So we find that when you are choosing relationships, for you to be able to have long-lasting relationships, you need to have shared values with the people who are in your life. So to answer that question, why are we finding relationships failing or breaking up? If you find yourself partnering with somebody because of, possibly how they look, you just got attracted to how they look physically, but you did not go down to the value system, then the foundation of that relationship is not solid. And therefore, as life happens and there are the ups and downs, you'll find that eventually you'll just part ways. So one of the things that has happened is that we've become a little bit more intentional with how we interact with one another. The other thing that happened was that we stopped to actually look at ourselves because life became very fleeting. The mortality rate went up. So it made us stop and actually wonder about our lives and how we've been spending our lives. And has it been impactful? That is one of the things that COVID granted us. And I call it a gift. If you're able to walk into that space and actually ask yourself the question of, why am I actually here? It meant that now you are going to be more intentional in the things that you are doing and the things that you are pursuing. Because life indeed we came to realize that life is actually very fragile. So people have taken a step back to actually ask themselves that question. Why am I actually here? What is it I am supposed to be doing? What meaning or impact am I supposed to be bringing into the world? And the only way that one is able to answer this is to look at themselves truthfully. The season of isolation and falling back has allowed a lot of silence to happen. It has allowed us to look at ourselves more clearly in the mirror. Some people have not thrived in that space because what you are seeing is not what you thought you were. There's a disconnect. And we found an influx of clients coming in because they just could not be able to make peace with who it is that they are seeing and what they thought they were. So it is a gift because it has forced people to actually slow down and ask themselves that very important question of who am I? When we're asked who am I, you say that you define yourself by either you're married, you've got children, your job. But very many people also lost their jobs during this season. Relationships have also gotten strained, but those things are additions to who you are. It's not who you are. And there's a reason why you are here. There's something unique within you that you have been gifted that you're meant to share with the people around you. And it doesn't have to be very grandiose. It could just be within your small ecosystem of your colleagues or your family. but you have to be able to allow that to come to the surface. And many people struggle with looking at themselves in the mirror. And that is the journey of self-awareness that this season has brought us. And if you're talking about, again, why do relationships fail, is because we are not allowing our true self to come to the surface. If I allowed myself to come to the surface and I accepted my positives and my negatives, everything about Wandia, I accepted it for who it truly is, then I'd be able to allow the world to see that. And then I give the people the opportunity to either want to interact with me or to let me be. So that being genuine then allows the right people to walk into your life, and the ones who are not meant to be there to walk away. So indeed, the journey does begin with you in terms of saying that I want to have good, meaningful, deep relationships. It begins with you. When you look at yourself, are you okay with all the areas that you see? And remember, there's nothing like perfection. We strive towards perfection. We know we are a work in progress. But I know myself for these things, and I know these are the areas that I'm struggling in, but I accept myself fully. This time that we have been gifted, because I've called COVID pandemic a gift to us, it has allowed us to step back, regroup, and see what next. And I've actually always told people, when I've gotten the opportunity to speak at such forums, I've said, if you leave this season the same way you went in, it would be a pity, because you were given an opportunity to actually stop, reflect, and move on. And this is just last week when we were given the license to move back into life. The curfew has been lifted. So basically, it's almost business as usual. It's almost business as usual. But you should not allow yourself to fall back into old habits. There are things that you have learned about the things that matter, the relationships that are most important. In the past, we wasted a lot of our time and our energy on relationships that really did not matter. But now this has forced us to step back and see what is actually important. It's those who are closest to us. For many of us, it is our family and a few select friends. It's not everybody. And being real as you have gone through this particular season. So that is the one thing that we need to always stress, that individuality is a good thing. There's always that trying to strive to fit in with what is hip and what is latest. But as we have also learned that things are fleeting, we cannot waste our time on generalities. Life is about significance. Life is about meaning. And how do we then start allowing ourselves to get into that space of discovering and accepting who we are? It is being intentional and spending time alone every single day. Of course, I know I'll be challenged on this because life gets busy. There are children, there are spouses to take care of. And I mean, there's just so much that's going on. There's trying to ensure that I've got a meal on my plate, I've got a roof over my head. But it just takes something as little as 5 to 10 minutes every single day. I was listening to a podcast the other day and about this lady who had 18 children. She had 18 children. And yet she did take time every single evening to spend time on her own. And you know what she did? She sat in a chair and she covered her head with a tea cloth. And she had told the children, anytime you see mom with the tea cloth covered over her head, that is mommy time. So the children would just step back and should spend that time just reflecting on how the day was and the things that she wanted to do. So the people who say that it is difficult to find time, you can actually create the time if you are intentional about it. And here is the thing, you cannot give out what you don't have. So you have to first spend time on self before you can be impactful with the people in your life. And this is a challenge that many people have. You say, I have to do this, I have to respond to the children, I have to do this, the work is there, my spouse, my business. But let me tell you what, if you do not take time to nourish your soul, to nourish yourself, your cup will just simply be empty. Your cup will be empty and you can't pour from an empty cup. So you need to take the time to actually nourish your soul. So it's spending time alone. You could either meditate, listen to music, exercise, listen to a podcast, just take time for yourself. And it's not being selfish, because I've also had clients who challenge and say, but you know, I feel selfish. But I say, if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't feed yourself, there's nothing at all to give. And of course, people have lost their jobs. And you also know that the job still continues, the work still continues, the business still continues, even after you've departed. People have passed away, but life still continues. So what meaning are you allowing into your life? And what impact am I allowing in the people that I interact with around me? So it all begins with you. Each individual is unique and specific. As you heard, I'm somebody who loves the outdoors. The next person will not enjoy the outdoors, but you need to do the things that nourish you. So for a human being to be full and fully thrive in this season and going forward, the first thing is being intentional in the interactions and the relationships that we are in. Choosing the interactions based on our values. And how do you know what your values are? You have to first take time on your own to decide what my values are. And when you're getting into relationships, the ones that we choose, which is the romantic relationships, those are the ones that we choose. The others, you know, we don't really get to choose those. But when you're getting into romantic relationships, it's important to have common values with the person that you're going to couple with. Because then, therefore, you have a common understanding and a common language that you will then be able to speak. And a clear example is in faith, in terms of faith. If we have got very different belief system, one is an atheist and one believes in God, then really that union will face challenges. I'm not one to say it will never work, because never is not there, but it will be one that will be wrought with many, many challenges. So it begins with you. And that is why there are people like me, wilderness psychologists and other psychologists as well, who can be able to have this conversation with you to help you unpack and to also understand who you are and to live life fully and with meaning. Acceptance of self is very important. It then allows you to just then flow with life as it throws its challenges at you, because life has its ups and downs. You're able then to move as the tides take you, if you are fully accepting of self and knowing that perfection is something we strive for, but we really never get there. There's nothing like I am perfect. We are human beings on a journey, and we are very dynamic. So I think I want to stop there and allow for questions, because I can see there are very many questions coming up. So Kevin, over to you.
I think Kevin has disappeared.
Okay, so Grace, you're still here.
I am here. Yes, I am here. He was supposed to be backup, so I'm still here. And let me then do something we call, one day you probably can make me a co-host. I somehow made you a host. And thank God I made you a host. We'd be in trouble. So make me a co-host. Yeah, on the right, where the names are, go to panelists and right click on Atara Solutions and choose make co-host. So I think we can summarize. I think one day you have really come out in a very simple and to the point. Deep and strong relationships start with ourselves. That is what Stephen Mutuma is saying. Okay, I was hoping to, okay, yeah, here we go. Yeah, I had a tiny screen somewhere. So I hope people can hear me. I am in a place where we don't really have good internet, but I just want to pick out on what some people are saying, and please ask your questions. The Q&A slot is open, and also the chat. But Fred is saying, being intentional, starting with self, raha ujipe mwenyewe is what Fred is saying. And I've read Stevens, then Gertrude is saying, time alone is indeed so very important. Helen says, true self-care is very key to purpose, to add value to someone. So thank you for confirming that you can hear me. But one day, let me ask you, in the wake, we've covered pandemic, right? The Internet of Things, the technology right now. How do we stop with the superficial relationships with our parents? I don't know whether people remember the last time they actually went and had a meeting with their parents and just found out how they were doing without WhatsApp, or their brothers, their sisters, even their friends. We talk on WhatsApp group and we think we are easy, we are good. So how do we, after we have taken care of ourselves, how do we make sure that the other people actually understand the intensity of healthy relationships? Is it me or is it you? Or you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, so of course it begins with you. And one thing that I have to keep underscoring is that human beings are meant to be in relationship. And yes, well, the technology allows us to think that we really are interacting with each other at a deeper level. It really truly is not the case. We cannot underscore. Actually, one thing which I feel very bad about is the fact that we are no longer hugging each other. We're no longer really touching each other. And touch has got such a profound psychological positive impact on us. But we have had to, censor that, or, kind of like take a step back because of the pandemic. But even just being face to face with people makes a huge, huge positive impact on our mental health. And I'll ask anybody who wants to challenge this to do an experiment, and this is what the experiment is going to look like. Keep away from people for even a week. Interact with them only on Zoom, interact with them on a phone. Don't stay in your corner. If it's possible, stay in your corner and don't limit that. Actually, don't interact with people and see how you are going to be. I can guarantee you that your emotional space will not be at a healthy level, because we do need face-to-face physical interaction. So that is the first thing that I would encourage people to do. Just do that experiment, because you know that technology does not give us everything. It actually masks a lot. And here is the thing. We also know that the non-verbal is about, I think, 95% of communication. So if we're doing WhatsApp, we are communicating at maybe possibly 5%. So we don't really know. When you're asking somebody, hey, how are you doing? How are things? You're missing out on so much. And when somebody also asks you, how are you doing? You're in a good space, and you say you're okay, they may not be able to see beyond that okay. So then again, nobody can assist you, nobody can ask you the deeper questions. So not only are you doing yourself a disservice, but you're also doing those people a disservice. So that's the first thing. We need to be very aware that technology masks about 95% of the reality of communication. So then what are we really doing with 5%? There's nothing much that's happening there. Technology is good, but it should only be used in cases where there is nothing else that you can do. Like in this particular case, we can only do this webinar on this forum. But if you could do it live, that would be the most ideal thing. And we cannot relegate the important relationships, family, to only technology. But it begins with you. You have to decide that my parents are important enough for me to make the decision to go visit them, or to spend time with my friends physically. Nothing can replace physical interaction. But let people do that experiment and just stay away from people for a week and see how they're going to do.
Wow. I like the challenge, Wandia. I like the challenge. And I think we are going to start. I understand, because you can imagine during the pandemic, the way we were craving to go out. And like now we have about almost 800 people in the attendance on the IHRM conference happening in Mombasa right now. And you can tell people were craving to go for physical meetings. They were craving to go for these interactions, because even trainings, you deliver more when it's physical. So I hear you. There's someone who is asking, how do I begin how do I start a relationship with myself and maintain it? How do you start and maintain a relationship with yourself?
That's a very, very nice question. How do you start a relationship with yourself? The first thing is just segmenting a bit of time each day to you and doing nothing else with that time. We are not used to sitting still without distractions from our phone or from a book or from the TV. I challenge you to take even just 5 minutes and allow yourself to just listen to your thoughts. Begin there. And you may not be comfortable. In the beginning, you'll be a bit edgy, but sit through that discomfort and allow yourself to write things. Keep a journal, just write things down as it's coming out, what we call brain dump. Whatever you're thinking, just put it down. You don't have to reflect on it at that point in time, just put it down and leave it. Tomorrow, another 5 minutes. The next day, another 5 minutes, and then look at the things that you are writing. There's definitely going to be a pattern. There are going to be things that are coming out. And allow yourself to interact with whatever it is that is coming out. So how do you maintain that relationship? Spend time with yourself. It's the same thing you do with anybody else, any other relationship. To nurture that relationship, you have to spend time with that person. So spend time with yourself daily. And I'm talking about big chunks. I've said as little as 5 minutes. Put off the phone, put off the TV, put off the radio, allow yourself to just be. Human beings have forgotten that. Allow yourself to just be.
But someone is saying that introverts can spend time alone
Yes.
without physical interaction. Yet you've told us we love physical interaction.
Here is the thing, and we tend to get it a bit confused. When we say that we're introverts, and I'll tell you, I am an introvert. I'm sure, Grace, you'll deny that I'm an introvert, but I truly am an introvert. But what that means is that I need time alone to recharge my batteries. So I will retreat to spend time on my own, but I do need people in my life. During the time when it was a tight lockdown, you know, the smallest things that we take for granted, like saying hello to the watchman, when you're going to the shop, you're interacting with the shop attendants, when you go to the office, the tea girl, those small interactions really add value. Even if you're moving yourself from your home to the office or anywhere and you're using public transport, that type of interaction also has positive impact on ourselves. So when an introvert is saying that they want to be isolated, they need to remember that human beings are not created to be in isolation. We were not created to be that way. So it's only so long that you can be able to sustain that.
Okay. There's somebody who's saying, when faced with survival fears, how can one have deep, meaningful relationships when suspicion is the prevailing thought? I've also noticed that even when one is seeking to be intentional in being present, it is mostly for the purpose of what's in it for them.
Okay. So those sound like are there 3 questions or it's 1 question?
Yeah, I think it's one. The other one is there is insecurity, I can assume, because she says, or he says, when faced with survival fears, how can one have deep, meaningful relationships when suspicion is the prevailing thought? Okay. I've noticed that even when one is seeking to be intentional in being present, it is mostly for the purpose of what's in it for me.
Okay, I'll deal with the fear part first before coming for the what's in it for me.
Yeah.
But the fear part, you have to allow yourself to look at that fear because it is yours. What is it that is making you fearful? And allow yourself to unpack it because people have got very many fears stemming from past experiences, or actually it mainly comes from past experiences. But you need to allow yourself to look at that fear and ask yourself the question, what is the worst that could happen if I actually allowed myself to walk into this space? Whatever it is that you're fearing, what's the worst that can happen? Allow yourself to face your fear. Once you are able to face it and accept it for what it is, then you already deconstruct that fear. That is the first part of it. So face your fear, acknowledge it, and look at it for what it truly is. Is it that it is the reality, or have you given yourself a story around that? When it comes to the side of insecurities and people want something from you, there's something, I think, Grace, that you said, somebody said, is it tender women and or is it something like that? Do good without expecting people to repay you. That's the first thing. That should actually be the underlying thing. Do good without expecting anything in return. Therefore, you'll never be disappointed. You'll do good, move on. You'll give, move on within your capacity. Even those people who are out there to want to take. Now, unless you're going to bring it to specifics, like maybe you've got friends who are continuously taking from you, they only take from you because you allow them to. So then you have to learn what boundaries are. How do I say no? How do I protect myself? Because even family members can do that unintentionally. People can keep taking until you tell them no. It may or may not destroy the relationship. Many people will just be okay with it and move on. Okay, that is your boundary. I cannot be able to demand this much more from Wandia. This is what her boundary is. Then it's okay. And for those who fall away, it's also fine. It's part of the growing. Not all friends in our lives are meant to walk with us from the day of birth to the day that we die. There are seasons for different relationships. So allow that as well. But it begins with you. Do your part, move on without any expectations.
Wow, wow, wow. Hey, hapo karibu tufunge sasa tukalale. I think you have but Richard is saying, I love the concept of disconstructing fear and facing that fear and facing the fact that you cannot really predict what others will do, but you can predict what you can do. There's another anonymous person asking, this pandemic can be classified under severe trauma. How does one begin to heal from trauma individually and as a community?
How does one begin to deal with trauma? Talk. That's the first thing. And that's what I've said. You know, you need to spend time with yourself to see what has the impact of this pandemic been to me. If you find that it has actually disabled you, because the people who have been disabled, Grace, the people actually who have not left their home since the beginning of the pandemic, and those are people who have been disabled, then they will need professional assistance to be able to get out of it. But for many people, having the conversations with either professional or those people within their network, their support system, can help them transition. I'll actually give you an example for myself. I remember the very first time, I think it was a bit earlier on this year, and I went for a gathering because I spent time alone on my own. I only spent time with my family, very few people. And I was at a friend's party. So initially we were about maybe 6 people and I was comfortable. Then I saw what I'll classify as a multitude. It wasn't a multitude, it was maybe like another 6 people walking in. And I just felt extremely uncomfortable. I actually had to stand up and leave. But it was because I had gotten used to not interact with many people. So I had to go back. When I left, of course I left, and I had to go back and say, was that a rational fear or was it irrational? Was I exposed? Was I going to get hurt? Why did I have to react that way? It was an open space. It was simply because I had forgotten how it is to interact with more than a number of people, about 7 people. So it is important for you to look at how is my behavior currently, and is it the pandemic that has made me be this way? And is it still rational behavior, or can I actually deconstruct the fear and allow myself to start moving? If you find that you are crippled, then possibly you need to speak to a professional who can help you move forward. And that's where we come in again. We are the professionals who help you deconstruct this fear and the traumas that we have.
All right. Thank you so much, Wandia. Now back to the workplaces, and just allow me to give a shout out to our partners. This webinar is brought to you by Atara Solutions in partnership with Balcon Housing and Stallion Construction Company Limited. And they have an offer for you to buy a piece of land at 400,000 shillings with custom-made installments for you in Nanyuki. This is an 8-acre piece of land. Wandia, let's come back to our workplaces now. And I've seen a question about how do you deal with the narcissistic and hubristic line manager who demands that you use some words he has used there, and who happens to be the gatekeeper to the board and management.
How do you deal with a narcissistic and hubristic? I don't even know what the second term
I don't
means.
even know that means. Yes.
I'll acknowledge that I know about the narcissism, but
yes.
the other one I do not know about that.
Yeah.
But how do you deal with somebody like that? The first thing is accepting that this person is that way. And if they're your line manager, then you truly have to understand what is their style of leading. What's their style of leadership? If it is beyond, or they are, what's the word called? Going beyond the side of what the HR manual actually puts out there, then you could have a conversation with the HR and ask them to assist you. But if that is just their style, then you just need to do what it is that you're called to do within the organization and keep moving forward. Do not take it personally. Remember that this person, that is how they are, that is how they operate. What is your role within that organization? What have you been called to do? And just to do to the best of your ability. But if somebody is consistently, trying to put you down or being abusive in any way or form, then it's upon you to then look for what are the protocols within this organization that I can use to be able to get my voice heard. And many organizations these days actually are very keen on ensuring that the employees are treated fairly. So it's important for you as the person to also figure out, is this something that I can actually get support from, or can I figure out a way to work with this particular person? Because not all narcissists are impossible to work with. That's a fact. It's not all narcissists are impossible to work with.
Okay. I have seen organizations where, oh wait, we have somebody who says a hubristic, excessive, proud of self-confident. A hubristic believes in his own self-proclaimed genius. Thank you so much, Brenda, for your contribution on that. So this is a very, I think they can probably work together. But now I'm asking, like, because a lot of people don't know how to wake up and go to work when the workplace is toxic. Yeah, when they probably are not being given, their roles are not clear, like you said at the beginning. The demands are probably not able to meet, and a million and other things that make workplaces toxic. So how do you suggest we protect ourselves as we look for other jobs? Because the last time we did a toxic workplaces webinar, people were thinking of just living and living and living, but sometimes it's not practical, because you're not getting a job today. You may need to look for a job for 3 months, 4 months, stuff like that. So how do we protect ourselves from taking this back home? How do we debrief from the trauma in the workplace? Yeah.
The first thing that you need to do is to accept and look at what this job is giving me. Because you need to understand and appreciate that there's not everything at the workplace is negative. Even that salary that you're getting is what is able to afford you the lifestyle that you have. So that's the first thing. So keep your eye on that. As when you're looking for other jobs, keep your eye on that. Beyond that, your organization is possibly also giving you opportunities to learn. So you also pick that so that you can be able to use that as you are looking for another job. So the first thing is be very clear what it is that you're getting from your employer and the things that you want to achieve while you're in that toxic place. Because it is very sad to hear people saying that I went and worked at this place, but I didn't get anything out of it. So what were you doing there for those number of years? You need to ask yourself, what impact do I want to leave here? It doesn't have to be huge, but what do I want to leave from this place, in this place, and what do I want to get out of this place? Be very clear about those two things. Then the next thing is when you get home, I have seen some people do this. They actually spend like 5 minutes before walking into the house to just exhale, to just breathe in, breathe out, and allow themselves to transition from work. Now I'm entering home. So you look at what the day looked like for you. The places that you struggled, accept that you struggled. The places that you enjoyed, you accept that and allow that to remain outside. Then you walk into your house. So you have to have that clear. I'm shutting off from work and I'm entering this space of comfort, which is home, where the people love me and where I'm accepted. So it's intentional behavior. I can't underscore intentional behavior enough. Intentional behavior begins with you.
Okay. Ben Agunga is asking whether they can get handouts on this particular topic from the facilitator. Wandia works with the very short notes.
That's true.
So I am not too sure she'll be able to give you any presentation. However, you can always refer to the webinar recording that will be uploaded on YouTube, and you can pick the points as you learn more as we go along. So, okay, I thought that was a question. So, all right. So back into the workplaces, we have these people who think that we must be friends in the workplace. What is your comment on that?
We choose our friends. We don't choose family, but we choose our friends. So there's nothing like we must be friends within the workplace. We must maintain cordial relationships and respect within the workplace, but we really do not have to be friends. I spoke about values. We are working together in the same organization, but we have the same values. Do I really want to spend my free time with you? We are here to ensure that we deliver whatever it is that this organization has employed us to do. So you don't have to do anything beyond that.
Okay. Now, what is too much? How do you know you've hit the wall? How much is too much is the question of the toxicity. How much is too much?
When you can't shut down, when it is all consuming, whether in the office, whether you're at home, it is consuming you. You're not able to find peace. You're not able to sleep. When you go to sleep, anything that is running through your mind is just that space. You need to take a break. You need to take a break. And one thing that I have also discovered during this particular season is that people are working longer hours now than they did before pandemic, because the transport movement has been eliminated, and your employer also knows that you can work from home. So emails are being shot out left, right, and center, and people are working ridiculous hours. You need to know when to shut down. You will never finish the work. So you need to have your own personal shutdown and respect that. So you draw your own lines. Don't wait for anybody to draw lines for you. And when you feel that I've gotten to the end where I'm saying you're feeling foggy, you're not enjoying life anymore away from work, even work, that is why we have leave days. I think everybody has got 21 leave days. Take leave, take leave. It is your right. So apply for leave and go and rest.
But we have organizations that don't approve leave until December.
Which ones are those ones?
Well, we have them.
And that's also okay, because here's the thing. Okay, so you've got your leave and you have to have sick off. But every December you have got your 21 days. That's a big chunk. Then you also have your sick off days. So also take those as well. Get creative.
But I like someone's comment here with saying, is it realistic to live a life without expectations, really? How does that work?
Well, we all have expectations, but you have to manage your expectations. If there's anything that you've always had, is that manage your expectations. Because who are you expecting to deliver? Is it somebody else you're expecting to deliver? Because human beings tend to disappoint, not intentionally, but they will disappoint you. Is it expectations of yourself? Then you also need to also manage your expectations of self. Otherwise, you'll just be disappointed. So it is not unrealistic to say that I will just manage my expectations. Yes, you're going to look for them, but from other people, manage your expectations. People will disappoint you because they're not in your head and they do not know why you're expecting things from them. And people are poor communicators. So you just sit back expecting things, especially in romantic relationships, but people do not know how to read minds. You have to be very clear what it is that you are trying to request the other person to do and allow them to say, no, I can't do that, or yes, but not now, and take it that way.
Okay, so it's more of don't live without expectations, is more of learn how to manage your expectations when it comes to relationships. I like that. Yeah. So somebody is, my friend, Geto, hi, how are you? You have disappeared of late, but he's asking, which advice would you give for getting out of a toxic relationship? And I'm assuming this is marriage, or is it brother and sister, or which one? Anyway, just go ahead.
I can answer both, actually.
Yeah.
If it's brother and sister, I mean, there's no getting out. That is your person. But then you can limit the amount of time that you spend with this person. And you can also put boundaries. Do not allow people to walk all over you. Draw a line. Your siblings will always be there, but draw a line in terms of how much I will allow you into my space and how much I will come into your space. Be vocal about it. When it comes to a toxic relationship with a loved, romantic relationship, how do you get out of it? You need to, first of all, know that you want to get out of it. Once you have decided that you want to get out of it, then you look at what steps do I need to take to get out? Or is it something that can be resolved? Because sometimes you want to jump out, but this person possibly does not even know that they're toxic. Have you had a conversation with them? Have you tried to go for counseling with them? Have you tried? If not, try those first before just jumping out. Because you might jump out and find out whatever is out there is even worse than what you left. And maybe sometimes it's even a bit of adjustment on your part. Maybe there's something that you can adjust that may also bring down the level of toxicity in that particular relationship. So it's not always about the other person. What can you do to make the relationship a bit better?
Okay. I am loving your answers, Wandia. I am really, really loving them. Uh, there's somebody who is asking something. Okay, before I ask an anonymous attendee's question, Wandia, how do you, because I have heard about set your boundaries, set your boundaries, set your boundaries. But some people really have no idea how to do that. I personally have had to learn that in about the last 2 years. How do we set boundaries?
Okay. First of all, start by saying that Kenyans struggle to say no. When you ask Kenyans to do something for you and they know they don't want to do it or will not do it, they'll say, hey, let me think about it. Instead of just saying no, then they'll hedge. So how do you set boundaries? The first thing, it comes from your value system. It comes from understanding who you are as an individual. So that's where it begins. So if I proclaim that I am a person of integrity, then there are certain things that I will not do because I define myself as a person of integrity. So it first of all begins with understanding self. Therefore, then I'll be able to communicate that, no, the thing you're asking me to do goes against what I believe. So I cannot. So people struggle with setting boundaries because they do not understand self first and foremost. So it goes back to that conversation I started off with, self-awareness. Who am I? If I say that I'm someone who is loving and caring and giving, that's also okay. But are you also doing the same thing for yourself? You also need to apportion a bit of time for yourself. And those boundaries around that need to be tight, that this is Wandia's time and I'll not allow anybody in this particular space. And it is okay. Those people who do not accept or push back, then maybe, you don't really need them to be that close in your life because life is about respecting. I'll give, I'll take, I'll give, I'll take. But it begins from you. Who are you as a person? This is how I define myself. I'm a person of integrity. I'm a person who loves family. I'm a person who does this. Then anything that goes around or out of that, then you're able to, draw the line at that particular point. I hope that is a bit, makes it a bit easier. And and no is a complete sentence, by the way. People need to learn. No is a complete sentence because if someone asks you something and you say yes, they don't ask you why. They just say, okay. So if you say no, I really don't have to go into very many stories. No and yes, they are complete sentences.
Okay. Back to the anonymous attendee's question. It is very possible to lose yourself. Okay, this is not even a question. I think it's a comment. It is very possible to lose oneself at the workplace. I joined an organization 2 years ago on a senior role. And so I thought I got there. The culture was horrific. Having come from a stable, positive place, to bad attitude, salary delays, nothing was moving. I was lost, nothing was moving, rat race, struggle. I began job seeking from week 1, all in vain. So I finally exited the organization on redundancy 3 weeks down the line, and I have literally cleared that part of my life. I do not miss the place. I deleted all contacts. I just do not want anything to do with that place. Unfortunately, I cannot leave it out of my CV. This is the part we said this person is very angry.
We could.
I've been hanging out with a lot of psychologists, and I think I'm getting the hang of things. Nancy really is teaching. Yes. So please go ahead.
Is there a question there? Because I didn't hear a question.
What do you think about that statement?
Wow. Anger consumes you. It does not hurt the people that you have left behind. Anger truly does consume you. So this person needs to allow that anger to come to the surface and to just let it go. It is now in the past. You went in, you survived. And again, I will still challenge this person to look for one positive thing that they learned from that organization, because there definitely is something. It was not all bad. Even in those challenges, they maybe learned resilience and how to deal with difficult people, how to manage their money a bit better because of salary delays. It's up to you to look for the silver lining so that you can be able to put that in your past. That anger is destroying you and not the organization that you left behind.
So what can they do? How do they deal with anger?
That's why I changed it and said, look within that organization and see, okay, what did I learn from this particular place? And now my time there is past. So I'll focus on only the good things that I was able to get from there. And I've picked the negative things that he has said and tried to turn them around. That one about salary delays, that meant that this person had to be very intentional how they use their money, because 30th of the month did not mean 30th. So therefore, I am going to be more intentional and careful in terms of how I spend my money. So that is a positive thing to learn. That is one thing. The other thing is that the person survived, I don't know for how long they survived that space, which means that even when they're thrown in with difficult individuals, it did not kill them. They learned how to sidestep the missiles and the landmines in that organization. And that's a good thing as well. And then let it go. Let it go.
Wow. 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 Mumesikia. So my son here is okay. This little brother of mine, he's asking, is it okay to stop checking on people who did you wrong, no matter the purest of intentions you had or did for them? How does one detach themselves and start concentrating that energy into oneself?
They are checking up on people who do not matter in their lives.
No, who did them wrong?
Well, I mean, I guess you just stop. I mean, I really don't understand that question, because if it's somebody who did you wrong, why are you still checking up on them?
Is it okay to stop checking on people who did you wrong?
Yes, it is actually very okay to take a step back. It is actually very okay to take a step back.
So how do you do that?
Depends. It also depends on whether this person is a sibling or somebody who they still have to interact with. Because if it's somebody who you have to continuously still interact with, then have you voiced the fact that they did you wrong? Because sometimes you just withdraw and the person has got no idea that they did you wrong. So if it is somebody that is still going to remain within your ecosystem, then voice it that, you know, something went wrong, and just for posterity or for moving forward, I will take a step back. I'm here in the background. If you need me, you can call me, but you know, the relationship, for now, let's take a break and allow ourselves to just allow me to heal, because I'm the one who's feeling a certain type of way. But if it is somebody who they're not going to see, I mean, you don't have to check on them. It's nobody who matters really in your life. We don't have to move with everybody in life from the beginning to the very end. Let those ones who are not bringing value anymore, let them go. Let them go. And it's okay. It's okay.
Okay. Brenda is saying, sometimes the HR is the toxic one. I've seen Frank has said, talk to HR. Wendy has said, talk to HR. I worked under a toxic HR head, toxic towards HR staff. And we kept wondering where HR staff would go to complain to, because everyone else came to HR for help. It was tough, but God is them out, and prayers worked. So
prayers worked.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
You know, within an organization, let me just throw this in there. Within an organization, if you find that maybe it's the head or the HR who is a certain type of way, you're not in that organization alone. How are your other colleagues there coping? Also learn from them, ask them, have a conversation. How are you managing dealing with this particular person? Especially those who have been there for a long time and you can see that they seem to be surviving. Have a conversation with them. You can learn a trick or two from them. That's the other thing. Don't try and reinvent the wheel.
Wow. Wow. Rita is saying what? Personally, will not give even a second to anyone to mess with my self-esteem. I will not only cut you out, but erase you forever. Okay. I think it's already 9. Allow me to just say this. This webinar is brought to you courtesy by Atara Solutions in partnership with Balcon Housing and Stallion Construction Company. I am about to share with you the free trainings for this week by Pathway Solutions. But before I do that, as I figure out my screen, Wandia, another anonymous attendee is asking, how do I let go when someone offends me? I tend to easily let go of friendships. And on this note, I'd like you to talk about maybe a few personalities. We have the avoidance disorders. We have the avoidance, the dependence. Just give us a brief of all those personality disorders that we all have.
Wow. In the time that you've given me, I don't even think I want to scratch that surface, because then I'm opening up for another 15 to 20 minutes conversation. But for this particular person who has asked that question, that they find that they keep cutting people off, I would also question in terms of how are your communication skills? Are you able to express yourself so that people are able to understand you? Because why is it that you are always the one who's being affected and having to cut people off? It's either you're not expressing yourself adequately, so people are just moving over you and around you and stepping on your toes because they do not know. So it begins with you. You need to take responsibility for yourself. But if that's not the case, and it is a one-off, every so often you need to cut somebody off, that is okay, because the right people need space to come into your life. And how do you create space? Letting the ones that are not working go. That's actually how it works. So you need to look at yourself and see if there's a pattern. If it's a pattern that it is you is consistently cutting people off, then ask yourself, am I being able to communicate the things that I need, or when people are being disrespectful of me? And sometimes you may need a psychologist to help you walk through that, because it's a space that you've not been in. It's going to be very uncomfortable, and it comes from somewhere. Many of these things come from our past, our upbringing, where speaking our voices was not encouraged. So you have to begin somewhere. So we are there to help you walk that journey. But you should call me to have a conversation around personality disorders if that is something else that you're interested in.
I actually would love, I would love to understand personality disorders better, even for our people, because I think it's an unspoken something, and we all have some disorder of some sort. We are all recovering from. What were character development? We have been chaperoned by character development people, mpaka we are characterly developed. So yes, I think that is a conversation we can have on the different personality disorders and how to actually relearn or unlearn and relearn from those, because I believe something can be done. Yeah, so Mamji is also agreeing with me. Yes, we will definitely look at personality disorders. And Rosie saying, I'm in my first years of HR career. I have learned to see positivity in every situation. However bad things are, resilience has also helped. And when things are out of hand, always leave your creator to take control. Yeah, Brenda, yes, we are all mad. The difference is the what?
Degree.
The degree. Yes.
I will not even agree to that, but anyway, it's okay.
Anyway, Rita, personality disorder can be this. We will figure out because we have to check with Wandia's calendar. We also have our calendar almost very planned out. So next week we are dealing with entrepreneurship. We'll have an entrepreneur share with us their journey. So you know how we mix these things up. So there's somebody who was talking about what if the HR is not qualified? Where was that? What if the HR is not professional and has no training whatsoever?
So how are they HR?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, just go ahead.
I think I'll just go back to what I said, because it's an organization. How are other people dealing with this particular person? How are other people actually dealing with this person? And that's basically it. Learn from them. And when you're talking about they're not qualified, they're not licensed, that's a whole different conversation. So I'll just encourage you to find out from other people within the organization, how do you deal with this particular person? Because are we going to go and report? Some dynamics sometimes, sometimes just need to, that's what I would say actually, but just let it go, or just have a conversation with the people within your team and find out how do you deal with this particular person, and that's it.
I also think we have some people who are HR professionals who are fully trained, but they also do very poor jobs in terms of creating safe workplaces. And we also have people who are untrained and they're the best ever in terms of workplaces. So I think at the end of the day, it depends on the person, not necessarily on the papers, obviously, and the exposure and how much of interest or a calling HR is to you. And I'm speaking this to the HR. Or you can join us. We are in Mombasa at the HRM conference. And today we were dealing with anxiety and depression. We have another mental health session set out for Friday. So yeah, we will keep talking about mental health until we can deal with the stigma and all that. So on your screen are the pathways trainings offer for the next several weeks, or is it one day? So we have making business better, marketing for small businesses, building online business, performance management, conflict management at workplaces, problem solving, and decision making. Last week, we got an offer for 10 people and only about 6 of you reached out. So today, if you have your hand up, maybe you can put in Frank's email address. We can get you an opportunity to train with us. So please just email me, grace@atarasolutions.co.ke, and please title your email request for training. Or actually, you can also email info@atarasolutions.co.ke, because I can promise you I'm not going to be able to respond to the emails today, but Kevin will. Kevin is the co-moderator today. So you can email info@atarasolutions.co.ke, and Kevin is able to share with you the login details from Pathway Solutions. All these trainings will get you a certificate, which is very different from what we do at Atara. The Tuesday webinar series doesn't have certificates, but if you take the LMS learning, we'll get you a certificate with Pathway Solutions, and Frank has been here very supportive. So you have making business better, marketing for small businesses. You can screenshot these trainings so that then you can be able to claim your prize. This is being offered to 10 people. So 10 of you will get a chance to train on their LMS and get a certificate at the end of the day. I can see 5 participants have already raised their hands. Yes, I am happy about that. Hey, they're already 14. Okay, there's Elizabeth Mwangi, Rosemary Nyaboke, Gertrude Abanja, Susie, Sue, Rosemary, who else is here? Masiriri, Mam Jisu, Stella Njue, Rita Justas, Rhoda Ochira, Edna. Please just get in touch with info@Atara Solutions, and so that we can link you up with Frank. Other than that, it's 9:11 and some of us have not even had dinner. Yes, it is possible. I actually have a request for your contact, Wandia. Please type it on the chat if you may. Wandia is putting her number on the chat for you guys. And if you are not able to reach her, you can always, I'm your plug, reach out to me and I will hook you up with Wandia. She's awesome, by the way. She's awesome. She did a training with us for dysfunctional families that was excellent. You know, the way you are born in a family and you're not even sure of yourself. Yeah. Which was really, really good. And my friend wants you to train some kids that she trains. Obviously, it's for free. We shall see you can do. But yeah, so Wandia has put her, this is for kids, Wandia, stop laughing. And for teenagers, actually. She does mentorship for teenagers. So that is Wandia's number, 0722-957-390. If you're not able to get a hold of Wandia, you can always get in touch with me and I'll be able to hook you up with Wandia. Please email info@atarasolutions.co.ke and Kevin will hook you up with the trainings for Pathway Solutions, because like your moderator of choice is moderating the HRM Conference 2021. So there you go. All right, thank you so much, Wandia, for your time and for sharing with us your knowledge. You know, you make psychology seem so easy. So, you know, you have the authority and then you just make sure we understand it in a language that we actually understand. So thank you so much for doing this. I know somebody was asking, what is the relationship between wilderness and psychology?
What's the relationship between the two?
Yes.
There's something very therapeutic about being in nature. So what I do with my clients, some of them, is that we actually have therapeutic walks in a forest. So just being in that space, the positive ions and the negative ions, there's a balance, there's a shift that happens that allows people to have conversations. You know, even there's something that I would like to, just one exercise, Grace, let me ask your client, I mean the people who are plugged in to do. Yeah. If you can get a patch of grass, early in the morning when the dew is still there, just walk on it barefoot when the dew is still there for a week. Even for a week, and tell me if there's anything different that's going to happen. The negativity in your body shall shift. There is something we call earthing. and it's done there in the morning. So that's why I do it in the wilderness, because I do understand the positive impact that being in nature has on the human being. Yes, so that's it.
Okay, because even Richard was asking, what is this wilderness consultant? And sorry, I forgot to inform you that there's another training tomorrow where, Frank, you will forgive me, I have not eaten, in my defense. So tomorrow is 27th, yes. Tomorrow there's 7th season communication happening at 2 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. 7 C's of communication from 2 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. I think, Frank, if you can share the link, I don't know whether I'm able to get that now, for the 7 C's in communication. Let me see whether my WhatsApp will can find it so that we get that onto the people. Frank, I don't have 7 C's in communication. Okay. So the other, yeah, there is the link for the 7 C's in communication. Frank has put it up. And then we have dealing with rejection and failure, which is happening on the 29th. 29th is Friday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. On 29th. So dealing with failure from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And tomorrow is 7 C's of effective communication. So please log in and get to learn some more. We cannot stop learning. We have to continue learning, and so that we can get there. Frank at Frank at pathwaysolutionservices.co.uk is the email address. Please get in touch with him. Fred is saying, great interaction, Wandia and Grace participants. You are a wonderful moderator, Grace, and I'm enjoying your skills at the HRM conference in Mombasa. Thank you so much, Fred. Make sure you say hi. So I have seen, for those of you who would like to join our WhatsApp group on Get It Right with the Tara Solutions, Jacinta has put up the link. You can click on it and you can join. If you're looking for Wandia to come and deliver wellness trainings in your organizations, please, she's put up her number, and you can also get in touch with me and I'll be able to hook you up. Thank you so much for sparing your minutes and to spend it with us this evening. I hope you have learned and you're taking away something. Friday, as always, we will share the link to the recording. It will be uploaded on our YouTube channel, and you can always keep learning. Please don't forget that we have an end of year coming up on 30th of November. Can you start shopping, my people? We are charging 3,500, and it will be happening at the Parkland Sports Club from about 5:30 or 6 p.m. It's a Tuesday, so our webinar on Tuesday, 30th November will take place live. So it's an opportunity to network. It's an opportunity to meet anyone you ever wanted to meet. And Kevin has shared the registration link, and we're going to also reach out to you so that you can register. So thank you so much, our audience. Thank you, our partners. Thank you so much, Balcon Housing. Thank you, Stallion Construction Company. Thank you, Pathway Solutions. Thank you, our other partners that we have walked this journey with. My name, as always, is Grace Nzula, always your host. It's always a pleasure. Today we were joined by Kevin. Kevin, tuseme tu kitu. Kuna mtu ananiambia ujaribu kusmile iko kidogo.
Hi everyone. I'm sorry I joined from the beginning, but at some point internet manenos. Sorry about that. As always, please don't forget to always join us on each and every other Tuesday at Get It Right with the Tara Solutions. And in the future, you'll be seeing me more often. I'll be smiling as always. Back to you, Grace.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Please make sure you keep smiling. It makes life easier. And you, our audience, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us. And I hope you're implementing the things you're learning. I want to see your takeaways and what you're doing. What is the difference that is making into your lives? You've been told spend time with yourself. I want to know how you have been spending time with yourself, and especially nyinyi wenye mko na namba yangu, I want a report on what you're going to do going forward. Nasikia Richard. So thank you. Please like our Facebook page, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Auntie Brenda, you're putting a kitamba in a short while to have a personal moment. I like that. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our Facebook page. By the way, we were live on Facebook. Shout out to our Facebook followers. Thank you so much for tuning in. We even almost forgot to give you mentions. Thank you so much. And I hope we did not forget to take a question that was on YouTube. My God. I mean, on Facebook. Today. Jacinta, have we forgotten any question? No. Okay, somebody is saying we need to learn more about OCD and bipolar. We shall demystify these things pole as we go along, or one at a time. So Jerry is saying, stellar delivery, Wandia. Grace, I have loved this session. Awesome. Thank you so much. And please, if you want to get training by Pathway Solutions, don't forget to email info@atarasolutions.co.ke, and you will be hooked up with the login details for tomorrow and also for the LMS. So, asanteni sana, my people. I want to go and have my dinner. Fred, I hope you have not eaten. I could use some company. But other than that, if you're in the HR conference, please don't forget to say hi to me, please. Just come and holla. But thank you so much for your time, and have yourselves a beautiful, beautiful night. And we shall see you on Tuesday as we demystify entrepreneurship. An entrepreneur will come to tell us how has their journey been. And we pick out the lessons from what the lessons. You know, so a friend of mine used to tell me, or rather my mentor used to tell me, you do not wait until it's your turn to face the problems. You can always learn from others. So, and that is what we intend to do. By the way, the webinar series is, our mission is to demystify issues in entrepreneurship and employment. And we are hoping to change a life one person at a time through information sharing. So that is our mission. And thank you so much, guys, for making the time. Have yourselves a lovely, lovely night. And Atara Solutions is here for you on your team buildings and the other trainings that you may need. Please, tutafute tafadhali. Have yourselves a very, very good night.